so now that we know what a polynomial is and what a monomial is, today we're going to do a fun little lesson that I think you're going to like, because it's going to take something you're very familiar with and it's just going to add something else that we already know about to it, okay? And that is multiplying a polynomial by a monomial. So we're going to look at something that has more than one term, and we're going to multiply it by something with one term. I'm going to take a polynomial with more than one term, and we're going to multiply it by a monomial, a single term, okay? All we're going to use here is the distributive property. You're going to multiply the term outside the parentheses by every term inside the parentheses, just like we've done with distributive property forever. Watch your signs. Always watch your signs, but watch your signs when you multiply. And we need to remember an exponent rule. This is a rule we learned some time ago, but I don't think we've used it in a while, that when you multiply powers with the same base, you add the exponents. Remember in the last lesson, when you add or subtract and you combine like terms, you leave the exponent alone. So when you're combining like terms, which is adding or subtracting, you leave the exponent alone. But when you're multiplying terms that have the same base, you add the exponents. Don't get those two things mixed up. So this is what this is going to look like. We're going to have a term outside of a parenthesis, so x times the quantity x plus 4. We're going to multiply x times x, which is x squared, and we're going to multiply x times 4, which is 4x. We're going to check, are these like terms? Can I combine them? No, most of the time you won't be able to, and you're done. Okay, so this next one, I have negative 2x times the quantity 3x squared minus 2x plus 1. So I'm going to take this negative 2x and I'm going to multiply it by 3x squared. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6, and x times x squared is x cubed. Remember, when you're multiplying the same base, you add the exponents, okay? Then I'm going to take negative 2x and I'm going to multiply it by negative 2x. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive. 2 times 2 is 4. X times x is x squared. And then negative 2x times 1 is just minus 2x. So you check, there are no like terms, you're finished. All right, let's do one that's a little more complicated because it has more than one variable. So I have 4x squared y times 5x squared. So 4 times 5, that's the easy part, is 20. And remember, when you're multiplying with this powers, they have to have the same base. So I say x squared times x squared is x to the 4th. 2 plus 2 is 4. And then the y, there is no y in this term, so the y just tags along, okay? Then I'm going to do our 4x squared y times negative 3xy. So 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. X squared times x is x cubed. And this time I have y times y. And so y times y is y squared. Then I'm going to do it one more time. 4x squared y times 2y squared. 4 times 2, that's a positive 8. Notice this term doesn't have any x in it. So I'm just going to bring the x squared along, and y, this y times this y squared is y cubed because I add the exponent. So these can get a little weird looking because they may have more than one variable, but it's just multiplying. Remember, when you multiply with the same base, add the exponents. All right, the last type of problem we want to look, I'm calling these combination problems, okay? So what I want you to see here I have some multiplication, here I have some multiplication, and I'm adding. Well, we know from order of operations, multiplication comes first. So I have to do this multiplication, I have to do this multiplication, and then I'm going to combine like terms, okay? So this is what this looks like. 3n times n is 3n squared. 3n times 2 is 6n, plus n times 5 is 5n, and n times a negative n is negative n squared, okay? Now I want to look for my like terms. Well, I have 3n squared minus n squared. I can combine that. That becomes 2n squared. And I have 6n plus 5n, that becomes 11n. After you have combined like terms, that's as far as you can go. You're done. All right, this last one. Notice I have multiplication, and I have addition. So I have to do this multiplication, and then I'm going to add, okay? So I do n times 2, that's 2n. N times negative 3n is negative 3n squared. Then I'm going to say 3 times n squared, that's a positive 3n squared. And 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. I look for my like terms. The only ones I see are minus 3n squared and plus 3n squared. Well, negative 3n squared plus 3n squared is 0, right? Those cancel. The other two are not like terms, so I'm left with 2n minus 12, and I'm done. Okay? So now look at the video practice problems. You can print out the page if you want, or you can just get a piece of paper and do them. Try those problems that I've put on the video practice, and that's what we'll discuss in the Zoom session. I'll see you then.